But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end."
So welcome to Countdown to Christmas, and it's Christmas Eve. Just one more sleep to go before we get to Christmas Day. Today is also the fourth Sunday of Advent, and our reading this morning is from that passage, which is the Gospel passage for today. And it's the story of the Annunciation, where the Angel Gabriel comes to Mary and brings exciting and probably quite disturbing news to Mary. And it's an opportunity to think about the role that Mary has in this Christmas story. And it seems to me that she's important for many reasons, but the three which I want to mention just today are that some of the surprising things about the story of the Annunciation is not whether or not Mary was a virgin or whether this actually happened in a particular way it's described in Luke. The really surprising and shocking bit is that Mary was chosen to be the bearer of Jesus. Mary, a young woman in a society where women were often at the edge of society, where they risked danger and poverty. Sometimes when we're thinking about how God was going to act in the world, it's often easy to think that we wouldn't start with a young woman in a strange place. But actually, I think that's really important, because it reminds us that the means by which God acts are as important as the ends. And the means by which God acts in this case is to take a young woman in all her vulnerabilities and risk, and to show that she is accepted by God. Mary takes the risk of shame and ostracization from her society, the risk on her name and honour. And she takes the risk to bear Jesus. Mary is also one of those people who we hear about at the beginning of the Gospel and also at the end. Quite obviously, she was there for the birth of Jesus, but she was also there when Jesus was on the cross. Mary started a journey of working with God, of being open to God's will, going through the suffering and the pain that was inevitable to come as she followed Jesus. And Mary is also an image for us of what it means to bear God. She did it physically. We can do the same. We can be the bearers of God's image in our world, showing what it means to live the way of God, open to God's wishes, open to God's call, working through the suffering and the danger that might come, but through it all being focused on God and wanting to share the love that God has for each and every one of us. So on this Christmas Eve, as today we may go to a nativity service or a crib service and hear once again the story of Christ being born on earth, maybe take a moment to think about Mary, the character Mary that appears in this story, her willingness to say yes in the face of social danger, her willingness to follow Christ to the end, and that desire in her life to bear God's image, showing love to all. I do hope you have a really great Christmas, a good time with all that you meet, all those that you meet and all that who come. And best wishes also for the next year. And just also a final opportunity to say thank you to Dan for having put together these videos and messages over the last 4 weeks of Advent. I don't know about you, but for me it's been a great opportunity to hear again the stories of waiting for God, waiting for Christ to come among us, that God will be with us, and that in those stories, how message of God's will, God's love, God's care for each and every one of us come through in new and different ways.